Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball. Join us Friday, April 24th through Sunday, April 26th for our first homestand of the season and our 5th anniversary celebration. Score big with $5 tickets. Grab $5 domestic draft beers. Enjoy $5 popcorn. And yes, 2 Nathan's hot dogs for just $5. Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats. The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, well, Virginia voters have decided Virginia passes a redistricting referendum, which very much favors the Democrats. This is a big, big story. And maybe this means that the Democrats may get control of the House. That's how much is at stake. This is a very big deal. The referendum passing, just by the last count, 51 to 48%. And it would change Virginia's dynamics right now. 6 congressional seats that are Democrat, 5 Republican. That looks like almost the way it turned out in the last election, if you look at the results with Kamala Harris and President Trump. And this one would give them essentially an advantage of 10 to 1 seats. So they would gain potentially 4 seats based on the way that they've gerrymandered and zigzagged. And it looks like a puzzle piece, the way they've created these new districts, which certainly favored the Democrats. And it's at a time, of course, this is the midterm elections coming up in November. The stakes couldn't be higher. And now Virginia Democrats selling the public they're a bunch of hogwash, and yet the voters clearly fell for it. And the verbiage was really interesting in this Virginia race. If you look at the way the referendum was stated, it said, should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to, quote, restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard of redistricting. So temporarily to restore fairness. Fairness for who? Fairness clearly for the Democrats. And earlier today, we were talking with Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary, about this deal. Now, he said if it got voted down, that would have been enormous, but it didn't get voted down. But here's what he said was at stake. Take a listen.
Well, it'll be a huge deal if it's turned down. It would be such a blow to the Democrats, such a blow to the new governor of Virginia, and such the right thing to do, just if you believe in good government. But I want to rewind the tape and go back a little bit farther, because when Texas started this in this midterm cycle, and I hate to say this as a Republican, but this was an effort by Republicans to use redistricting midterm to take more seats in the House of Representatives. And I opposed Texas doing this, because it was so easy and predictable to see. If Texas does it, California will do it. Illinois might do it. New York might try to get back in the game. Virginia's going to do it. Some Republican states tried to do it. You should have redistricting. You should have gerrymanders once every 10 years in accordance with the Constitution, based on new census data that allows you to draw district lines. It should not become power plays for either Republicans or Democrats. So I oppose this Virginia power play. But I also oppose it when Republicans try to do this midterm. Do it in every 10 years. Even politics has to have rules that are fair.
And I hear where Ari's coming from. Fairness all the way around. But this certainly does not seem fair tonight. And that's the trouble that a lot of people are having with this. Can you imagine in a state where in the last election, Kamala Harris won in that particular state? A lot of Republicans believe had there been as much money as Kamala Harris had in her campaign, that Trump might have won Virginia. Kamala Harris got 51.8%. Trump got 46.1%. 6-5. That sounds pretty fair. But now they want to make it 10 to 1. How is that fair? How is that democratic? How is that appropriate? Your thoughts tonight, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. What it says to me is the Democrats will indeed do anything to win. Anything to win. And things are going to be enormous in the midterms. I feel like the stakes couldn't be higher because this Democratic Party, just like even Alan Dershowitz said, and we're going to play some clips from him later on in the show. He's now a Republican. He said, I don't recognize this Democratic Party. It's full of Islamists. It's full of fanatics. It's full of people that, in many ways, what they're pushing for is not just anti-Trump. It's anti-American. And take a listen to this. This one's a real doozy. Congressman Mike Quigley, Democrat of Illinois, and I had to play this for you here on the Rita Cosby Show because this just sums it up. He was asked about why he was making some comments that seemed to be undermining America at this time of war. And we're going to get to the big ceasefire news in a moment. So Congressman Mike Quigley comes out, Democrat of Illinois, and he said, no, I'm not against America. He tried to parse his words, and boy, is this a word salad. But this says it all. The fact that he would actually say this at a time where America is trying to fight one of the biggest terrorist regimes ever in the world. And he sure seems to me like he's un-American and undermining the president and America's efforts. Listen to this one.
I spoke with Senator John Fetterman here late last week, and he accused some members of your party of cheering on Iran. Do you think that's happening?
No, I mean, I think what we're hearing from our constituents when we go back is that they don't want another bloody, endless, costly war. And 300,000 people in Illinois are going to lose their access to food on an ongoing basis, the SNAP benefits. About 500,000 are going to pay twice as much for health care benefits. This war is costing $1 billion a day. So we could have taken care of our own people. This is a president who always said America first. So no one's cheering on Iran. We're cheering against a president who's doing something that's illegal. It's costly. We've already lost service members. It's wreaking havoc on our economy. It threatens us in the homeland with terrorist attacks. So this isn't, I think it's patriotic to cheer for peace and to cheer for common sense and to cheer for diplomacy. Because again, after all, if he hadn't gotten rid of JCPOA, the regime was not moving forward with the movement toward a nuclear weapon. So the president can say whatever he wants. The reality, I think the American people understand.
Would you like to see the administration make the deal that we were talking to the Admiral James Stavridis earlier? We do know some of what the contours could be here. President Trump is now comparing what's going on to the JCPOA in his post online. Now he's claiming it's a better deal than the JCPOA, but he's putting them both together in the same sentence. Do you think this is a deal that you would be happy to see the U.S. make at this point, considering everything you've laid out?
Well, look, let me put it this way. We always favor diplomacy. And if we can move the regime away from moving forward with the nuclear weapon, of course, we're going to be for that. But which message are we talking about now? Is the night the war began, the president said this is about the liberation of the Iranian people. Well, not so much anymore. There's even a more hardline person in charge. So, and by the way, when the war started, the strait was open. So this is going to be very damaging to our country for years to come. So, of course, we'd like an exit ramp or one that moves us toward peace. But it begs the question, what was this all for? What are the costs, and can we recover those?
Where was the I hope the best for this president because it means a free world? What about I applaud the president for taking on a terrorist regime? Of course, the new news tonight, you guys, is that President Trump has extended the ceasefire. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes because he didn't put a time on it. We're going to talk about that because he essentially said that the blockade will stay in place until negotiations. And then after that, if they don't go anywhere or they never come back to the table, well, force will be used. My theory also is maybe President Trump is getting the Iranians to sort of rest on their laurels a little bit. And then maybe he will go in for a big strike when they sort of think, oh, well, maybe it might not happen today. Maybe he does mean peace. Maybe he's backing away. Never underestimate President Trump, you guys. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And meantime, I played those crazy comments from Congressman Quigley, who said, I'm not against the war. I'm just against this president. I'm glad he cleared that up, because it sure seems like the entire Democratic Party, other than John Fetterman, feel that way. Case in point, Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut. And this is what he talked about. He was just overseas a couple days ago, and this is what he said when he was overseas.
I want to bring you greetings as well from a nation that is in crisis. I'm not going to sugarcoat the gravity of what we face right now in the United States. This is the most significant threat to American democracy since the Civil War. Donald Trump in our country is trying to end our democracy. We are not on the verge of a totalitarian takeover. We are in the middle of it. He is trying to seize control of our courts, of our law enforcement, of our media, of our elections. His goal is oligarchic capture.
What is he talking about? So then there was a post today, and everybody's talking about this, you guys. A post from an Iranian official saying that at least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypassed the U.S. blockade. And so when you hear that, you think, okay, this is obviously a bunch of hogwash. This is obviously propaganda. This is clearly from the Iranian regime. And Chris Murphy has the audacity to retweet it with the word on top, one word, saying awesome. Awesome. What, he's cheering on the Iranian regime for, quote, with a shadow fleet bypassing a U.S. blockade? Is he anti-Trump? Is he anti-military? Is he anti-American? Or all of the above? And then he was asked about it, and you got to hear his apology. It was sort of a non-apology. Listen to this one.
Twitter's become kind of a cesspool. I probably should give up on sarcasm on Twitter. Obviously, anybody that's seen anything that I have said about Trump's war knows that I think it's bungled, mismanaged, and he should end it as quickly as possible. But sarcasm is not something, I guess, that's allowed on Twitter any longer.
Do you regret the post? Are you planning on taking it down, or are you going to keep it up?
I mean, I guess I just have to be more careful about sarcasm on Twitter.
It didn't sound like sarcasm to me. It didn't sound like it at all. Oh, I just have to be careful about sarcasm. Awesome. Either way, even if it's awesome, why would you ever comment that way? Don't you think that, like Iran, that the regime that's back there, especially now with this word of sort of a pause, that they're back there and they're going, oh, look, there's a senator from Connecticut, from the United States saying, awesome. They're really glad that we are bypassing the U.S. blockade. I mean, how is that constructive for America in any shape or form? It is not. And I contend these Democrats, again, if they get in power, you have seen nothing yet. You're going to see mini Mundanis. And there is word that Chris Murphy, he's kind of being talked about as maybe the next Senate Majority Leader. He's not just any senator. He's a very vocal member of the Senate. So this like nasty, crazy vitriol, there may be a lot more of it coming soon. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Joaquin. Your thoughts tonight.
Good evening, Rita. I'm getting fired up as I'm listening to this.
Thank you. Me too. Can you tell? I am like there's so many things tonight that it's just I find it anti-American though, Joaquin. Some of the comments I was just reading from Chris Murphy, who again it seems to be kind of pushing towards a leadership role. I think it's really frightening for this country. Your thoughts?
It's very frightening, and especially now after hearing what went on in Virginia now. I really want to ask the question, where are our dirty fighters? I'm really tired of this high road that we're on. If we don't get down and dirty with these people and we lose, we're going to lose this country. We're going to be in trouble. The Republicans being in power didn't go around rounding up people, Democrats or whatever, that oppose us and sticking them in jail and doing whatever. But the wake-up call is this. If we don't stop this, we're going to see it here to actually quote Chris Murphy there. We're on the verge of a tyrannical takeover of this country right now. And it's not Donald Trump that's doing it. It's going to be the Democrats that do it to us.
Yeah, can you imagine if they get in? They're already foretelling. I mean, all of the things that they're, like you just said, that they're accusing Trump of is what they're doing. I mean, they're talking about he said, they're going to pack the courts. No, it's the Democrats who've talked about packing the courts. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. It's all exactly. They're just like relaying what they have expressed an interest in. So that's why the stakes couldn't be higher. But you know what's interesting, Joaquin? I have never seen it like this, where a party is literally saying, I hate the president, even if he does something great, it doesn't matter. Even if it's, against an effort that would free the world from tyranny, I still will be against it because it's President Trump. That's a really sad place to be. Your thoughts real quick.
I'm sorry. Where I stand on this is that I believe that the only reason that they hate President Donald Trump is because they hate this country. Because they started turning. They loved him before he became president, and he came out actually being a sovereign, constitutional, American president. I don't even want to completely say conservative or Republican, but, that believes in the constitutional sovereign United States of America.
But you know what? But you know what? And by the way, he wouldn't be a Democrat necessarily if he had that, the views that he has. But because he has an R in front of his name, he's a Republican. They hate him, and they're willing to throw America and him under the bus. And I actually agree with you, Joaquin. I think they hate America. And I think they hate Trump, that they're willing to hate America as a result of it. And that's really sad. Joaquin, thank you very much. We're going to continue, you guys, much more right after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And President Trump just a few moments ago posting on Truth Social regarding the extension of the ceasefire. That was the news earlier today. Now President Trump highlighting that the blockade by the U.S. is costing them about $500 million a day, and that Iran deeply wants it opened. So he said they're trying to figure out how to get there. They merely want to save face. People approached me, he said 4 days ago, saying, "Sir, Iran wants to open the strait immediately. But if we do that, there can never be a deal with Iran." So he says, let's see what's happening. And he said he doesn't delay the thought of maybe blowing up their country, leaders included, he said.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment is sponsored by Goya Cares. We love Goya, but also we love our men and women in blue. And this story coming from Mishawaka, Indiana, where the police department is commending 2 of its police officers for running into a burning building and saving a man. The officers were credited with saving that man after they got a call dispatching them to the scene early one Sunday morning. They arrived at the burning building within minutes and did so before firefighters reached the scene. Now, upon arrival, they assessed the situation. They quickly entered the residence and thankfully located a 68-year-old man who was sitting on a couch in the living room as flames were burning up on the floor and engulfing the area on an interior wall. The danger to all involved heightened by oxygen equipment inside the home. So the officers determined that the man was clearly unable to escape on his own due to a recent hospitalization, and moreover saw that his clothing had already been severely burned. So they immediately lifted and carried the man out of the apartment quickly to safety. Then they re-entered and they got a jug of water and then other jugs of water and a hose to quickly put out the flames burning up the carpeting. At that point, then the fire department came in and were able to extinguish the remaining fire. But everybody said the fast action by those law enforcement officials, being calm, focused, and professional and brave, absolutely saved that man's life. Bravo to our great men and women in blue. By the way, a number of you have been asking for the website. I know Alice from Ohio was, for Sergeant Eric Duran for his legal defense fund. He is out now pending appeal, and there certainly will be a lot of charges tied to his case. I want to make sure I give it out to everybody, including Alice and everybody else, because we do love our men and women in blue so much here on the Rita Cosby Show. SBA, which is the Sergeants Benevolent Association, NYPD.NYC. SBA, NYPD.NYC. So SBA, like Sergeants Benevolent Association, NYPD.NYC. And then go to the section which shows support Sergeant Eric Duran. And also, by the way, I also want to talk about another big thing that's happening tied to New York police, everybody. Imagine if all in law enforcement come together. They believe there's about 150,000 law enforcement personnel that are in New York State. Imagine if they join forces and their families are added and friends and neighbors and everybody. It's essentially called the 500,000 vote campaign. And talking about power in numbers to influence statewide elections. It's a brilliant idea and a powerful idea, and it's called the New York State Public Safety Alliance. The members include not only police officers, but also public safety personnel from Montauk at the end of Long Island to Buffalo in western New York. And now they are calling on Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislature to pass legislation that would require officers be protected from harassment by requiring a 25-foot distance between citizens and on-duty law enforcement personnel. To me, that makes a lot of sense because these people are coming over, they're attacking law enforcement, they're spitting in their face. Poor law enforcement get so brutalized so unfairly. And having this would give them some cover that, hey, you're getting too close. That's illegal. You can't even get in my space. That would be a very powerful and I think very positive thing. So I really applaud the Sergeants Benevolent Association and also spearheading this, the president of the 2,100 member NYPD Detectives Endowment Association, Scott Monroe, for putting this together especially, and others, saying that they want to make sure that the officers are protected, that they're not harassed, they're not threatened, they're not obstructed from doing their job. And imagine if everybody votes together and says, yes, we must have this. It's the 50A ordinance saying it should apply to New York City, and especially New York City, where law enforcement is so much under attack. They're doing a press conference about it also as well. A big press conference tomorrow talking about it. It will be on City Hall steps in Manhattan. So if you love our men and women in blue like I do, you guys should come on out and support them. Actually, it's on Thursday, forgive me. It's going to be Thursday, April 23rd at 12:30 p.m. on City Hall steps in Manhattan. Again, Thursday, April 23rd, 12:30 p.m., just after noon there on City Hall steps in Manhattan. Come show your support for law enforcement, and especially men and women in blue and those who love them and appreciate them. Show up, show how much you care, and make sure that they are deeply, deeply protected, as they absolutely deserve to be. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And also President Trump talking about this new news tonight, saying that there will be at least a temporary ceasefire until negotiations get back on track. Now, everybody said it was about a few hours from the end of the deadline for the ceasefire. Remember, it was a 2-week ceasefire. It was supposed to expire, I think it's 4:50 or 5:40, either way, around 5 o'clock local time in Iran, which meant tonight. So the question was, what happened? What changed? We know that Iran didn't seem to be responsive. And apparently they're having some internal strife where the very staunch Islamists in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are fighting with some of the more civilian types, if you will. There seems to be an enormous power struggle. So there seems to be a lot of issues at hand here. Maybe President Trump just wants them to kind of attack each other, and then he knows kind of who to go after in the next set of strikes. Or maybe somebody comes to the table. Obviously, these Iranian Revolutionary Guard guys, they're not good guys. So that's a big issue if they end up being elevated to power. But here is President Trump earlier today, because he still says, I am optimistic, and he still is trying to paint a rosy picture for what could be eventually in Iran.
If it looks like things are progressing, will you not necessarily extend it to a definitive amount of time, but will you let it keep going if there's progress in the talks before taking...
Well, I don't want to do that. We don't have that much time because by the time both parties get there, as you know, they just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they were going to do anyway. I mean, I don't think they had a choice. They have to negotiate. And, you know, the one thing I'll say is this. Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, a wonderful nation again. They have incredible people. But they seem to be, you know, bloodthirsty. They're led by some very, very unfortunately tough people. And I don't mean tough in a good way. I think it's very negative for the country because we're much tougher than they are, like not even close. But they have to use reason, and they have to use common sense, and they can get themselves into a great position to make themselves into a great country, but a legitimate country, not a country based on death and horror.
And that was before, of course, he announced that there would be an indefinite ceasefire, if you will, at this point. And we'll see where that goes. Again, I think it could also be a little bit of a trick. Hey, you guys get relaxed. We're going to wait a little bit till you guys sort things out. And in the meantime, we'll plan our next military strike. So I'm sure President Trump has a good trick up his sleeve and a good strategy up his sleeve. He also said that he had discovered that they did, the U.S. military, obviously, discovered something that was coming from China that gave him great concern. Now, remember, he's supposed to go to China next month. And yet, here is what China seems to be doing behind the scenes vis-a-vis helping with Iran. Take a listen to what President Trump says the U.S. military discovered in the last 24 hours.
Restocking. We caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps. I don't know. But I was a little surprised, but because I have a very good relationship, and I thought I had an understanding with President Xi, but that's all right. That's the way war goes, right? But I will tell you that we have, our military is incredible, what we've done. I mean,
our military is incredible. And he also had some choice words for Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, of course, the two big leaders there in their chambers. For the Democrats, as I mentioned, Chris Murphy's being eyed potentially if the Democrats get the Senate. But listen to what he said about Hakeem Jeffries. It has to do with low IQ.
The Democrats can say, well, we should have done better, no matter what. If I did it in 1 week, they should have said, they'd say, we should have done better. Look at Venezuela. I took it over in 45 minutes. It was basically a 45-minute, and by the way, a very strong military country. And we took it over in a day, but let's be nice. But we basically took it over in 45 minutes. We took it over during the attack in 45 minutes.
Mr. President,
and they would say, I'm surprised they haven't said it, that you should have done it in 30 minutes. It took too long, you know. So it's tough. But we can't let traitors, traitors like Schumer put pressure on you where they say, we want out. Think how bad that is. I'm negotiating with these people, and they're telling us, we have to get out now, we have to get out now, we have to get now. And they were in a war for 18 years. They were in a war for, think of that, Vietnam, 19 years, Iraq, 8 years. So right. I want to make a good deal. I'm not going to be rushed. I have all the time in the world. I want to make not a good deal. I want to make a great deal. I don't want to do this, go through this. And, you know, if you look at this, what we've suffered in terms of losses, we lost 13 men, and that's terrible. I wish we didn't lose one. But if somebody would have said, we've done this and obliterated that country, obliterated it, and we lost 13 men, people would have said, that's not possible to have done that. It's not possible. Right. So we've done a great job, and I don't want to be rushed by people that are really treasonous as far as I'm concerned. And it's just, I watch this low IQ guy, Hakeem Jeffries. He's a totally low IQ person, and he's always ranting and raving, oh, this war is so terrible. They shouldn't be saying that when we're in the midst of a negotiation, because it does hurt us somewhat. It gives the other side some hope, and I don't want them to have hope.
I agree with President Trump. I mean, the fact that he said we're in the midst of war, that it helps the other side, and he even used the word treasonous. I mean, it really seems to be completely anti-American to be rooting almost publicly for the other side. Can you imagine? I never imagined that we'd have anybody who is representing America that seems to be so anti-Trump that they can't even see the forest for the trees, and they just hope that maybe this doesn't work out with Iran. That they want Iran to stay in power? I mean, that's the end result. They want Iran to continue, to have a nuclear weapon, that's okay? They think, the appeasement that, Obama and Biden and all these, and John Kerry, all those people were doing, that's okay? Is that the model here? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey, line 1. Go ahead, Sandra, your thoughts tonight.
Oh, good evening, Rita. I think Trump is so right. Let him take his time. Haste makes waste. And, the only thing that would pressure him is other people trying to make him make the wrong decision. So let him just put blinders on his eyes, stay focused, and do what he thinks is right at the right time. But I really called tonight about Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah, by the way, did you see that he said, I'm a Republican now because I can't take this Democratic Party?
Oh, Rita, I'm so happy that he's joining the team for many reasons. I mean, he made it clear tonight, there are a lot of policies that he likes that the Democrats have. So by coming into our party, he's going to influence us, and he's going to try to get us to move a little bit maybe more towards the middle. And then I even thought, I always believe in the domino effect. Maybe next we'll get John Fetterman. Once he sees that he's doing it, maybe he'll do it next.
That's a good point. I mean, John Fetterman, Sandra, I agree with you. He's been the voice of reason. In fact, yes. Sandra, hold on. I want to play this clip from Alan Dershowitz because we talked with him earlier today about why he's been a lifelong Democrat and no more. Take a listen.
Well, for years I was a Democrat. I started campaigning for Democrats when I was 14, 15 years old in the 1950s in Brooklyn. I've always voted Democrat. On a couple of occasions I've deviated and voted Republican, but I've been, a Democrat. I've contributed to Democrats. I've campaigned for Democrats. I can't do it anymore. The Democratic Party has become the most anti-Israel, anti-Semitic party in the history of America, and I can't be part of it. I can't be part of Rahm Emanuel saying that no more arms for Israel and we have to reconsider our relationship with Israel. I can't be part of all but 7 Democratic senators voting to prevent Israel from defending itself against terrorism. I can't be part of a Michigan senatorial candidate campaigning for an overt Hitler-loving anti-Semite like Piker. I can't be part of a party that just elected to the Congress a congresswoman from New Jersey who's virulently anti-Israel. That's not who I am, and I can't be part of a party that doesn't represent me, my people. It's asking me to be a hypocrite, and I'm not going to do that.
Sandra, your thoughts?
Oh, all I can say is thank you, Alan Dershowitz. We love you, and we are welcoming you with open arms to join the Republican Party and help us see things a little bit differently, perhaps, that we need to make some changes on. So this is wonderful. Absolutely. And he's just great. I mean, he really is.
He is. Yeah. He is. I'm telling you, I agree with you, Sandra. This guy is such a warrior and always fighting the good fight. And even at extreme problems to himself. I mean, you think about it, that he was remember, blackballed by many people in the Democratic Party. And then when he said, okay, I'm going to, support Trump, I'm going to help him with the impeachment because he felt the impeachment was wrong. They were furious at him to the point where Obama, remember, in Nantucket, essentially told him, I think he's not welcome, like kicked him out of the club, wouldn't talk to him, and they were friends for years and years. So he's been a voice of courage and bravery and a beacon. And I think any party is lucky to have him. And for him to say, I've had it with this anti-Semitism, it has gotten so bad, the anti-Semitic comments coming from so many of those on the left, especially by far. I don't blame him, and I say bravo to Professor Dershowitz. Sandra, thank you. It's always great to hear from you. And everybody, will continue your calls after the break, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show on a busy news night.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And President Trump says, yeah, there will be a temporary ceasefire extension, but who knows what he has up his sleeve? It could be, I think it could be a little bit of a head fake. I really do. I think there could be some big master strategy behind all of this. And in fact, I want to play cut number 2. This is General Blaine Holt, Brigadier General Blaine Holt. I love him. And I asked him about that, and he said I might be right on the money.
Let's say in 3 hours from now, we start seeing bombs dropping. Well, if that's the case, then you can know that the Pakistani leadership was in on the deception with the president. So because his social media was exhibiting, I'm holding off at the request of Pakistan leadership, that while the Iranians get themselves organized, I think they're all talking to each other, and I think the contours of a deal that sacrifices the IRGC is what I see emerging. Timing, that's anybody's guess.
Yeah, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, there could be anywhere from like 103,000 to 150,000 of these guys. That's still a lot. And that they may be in control now, taking over the civilian leadership of Iran. And President Trump is like, you guys battle amongst yourselves. If you want to kill off each other short term, that's fine by us. It's less for the U.S. and Israel to kill. So maybe that's part of the strategy, too, seeing who kills who's in control. We'll find out. Let's go to Alice in Ohio, line 1. Go ahead, Alice, your thoughts.
Hi, Rita. Well, President Trump is crazy like a fox. I'm behind him all the way. And I want to thank you for giving out that website.
Oh, you're welcome. For the sergeant. This is for Sergeant Eric Duran, and it's SBA. NYPD.NYC, because we got to protect our men and women in blue.
We do. And do you know something, Rita? I've been trying to get through to you all night. You're so popular. When you see a police officer, stop and say thank you for what you do. Let them know that they're appreciated. Join a boosters association like the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association we have here in Ohio.
That's a beautiful idea. Do what you can to support them. And you know what I do? I buy them cups of coffee, too. Not just say thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?